Today's episode of Chronicles of a Nigerian Woman is an anonymous story. Take a listen. I got pregnant at 20 and I was in my first year at the university and nobody knew about it, not even the father of the child. I grew up with semi-literate parents. They tried all they could for us, but they were not wealthy and their ability to provide was hampered by that. My mom ran a small provision shop in front of our house in Ijegun, Lagos, while my father was a cab driver. They managed to see my siblings and I through secondary school, and then we had to fend for ourselves. I am the last born and the only girl, and I am the only one who got admission to the university right after finishing secondary school. I decided that I would struggle my way through. I was not a loose girl, but I spent a lot of my teenage years reading romance novels and watching telenovelas. So I knew a bit about sex and romance. I had always told myself that I could not afford to get pregnant, and I imagined what I would do if it happened. I never knew I would have to carry out my plan. The father of my child was my first boyfriend, and I tried to avoid sleeping with him for a while. The day it happened, it was unplanned, and I just got carried away in the moment. It was my first time, and I thought I would get away with it this one time. Unfortunately, I did not. My periods were irregular, so I did not notice anything on time. I have always been on the big side, so when I noticed my clothes getting a bit tighter, it did not mean anything either. I developed a bad constipation one day and went to the school clinic. The nurse took one look at me and told me I was pregnant. I took a test and it was confirmed. The plan I had always rehearsed in my head kicked in immediately. I didn't even have to think about it. I did not tell anyone, no one, not my friends, not my family, not anyone else. And I never returned to the clinic after that. I started to avoid my boyfriend and he tried to find out why, but I never gave him an answer. I just left him. Maybe because of my physique, my pregnancy belly did not protrude as such, and I wore semi-loose clothes to hide it throughout the pregnancy. I never felt sick or weak, and this helped my plan. Everything just seemed to work in my favor. I braided hair for people to earn money to see myself through school, and I just stepped up my game to make as much money as I could in the period. When it was time for me to give birth, I started feeling light labor pain one afternoon, so I left school and traveled to Abeokuta, which was about an hour away. I asked at a market for directions to a local birth attendant, and I had the baby the next afternoon. She was surprised that I was alone, but I told her I could not tell my parents and that I had no one else. She allowed me to stay there for 2 days, and when I left with my son on the third day, it was very early in the morning. I left money for her payment on the bed where I had slept, and I snuck out before anyone woke up. I kept walking until I found a large white garment church. I did not enter the compound to avoid being seen by anyone. I hid outside for a while to make sure no one was around, and I wrapped the baby properly and put him on a cloth near the gate of the church, and then I turned back and walked away without looking back. Tears were streaming down my face. I felt bad and scared, but I knew that having that baby would hold me back and I would not be able to take care of him anyway. I prayed silently that somebody good would find him and take care of him. I wanted to stay around and wait to see what would happen, but I was scared of being found out. So I just kept walking and crying and praying silently until I was far from the vicinity. I found a secluded spot to sit for a while, and later in the afternoon, I went back to the church area and looked from across the road. My son was no longer where I left him, and neither was the cloth I laid him on. I went straight to the motor park and went back to my school in Ayetoro. That was the last I saw or knew about him. It has been 27 years, and I never told a soul, not even my husband, with whom I now have 3 children. When I went for one of my antenatal appointments for my first child, the doctor who examined me asked if I had given birth before, but I brazenly denied it. He said he could tell that this was not my first child, but I stuck to my story. He obviously knew I was lying, but he didn't pursue it, and I didn't offer more information. I have lived with guilt throughout this time. I have no idea what happened to that child, and I can only hope things augured well. There have been times I woke up in cold sweat from dreams about being haunted by my baby boy. And whenever any of my children fell ill, I thought it was a punishment for my actions. But this is one secret I will take to my grave. And that is why I have decided to keep myself anonymous. What do you think about today's story? Please share your thoughts in the comment section. Remember to like this video, to share with somebody who will find it useful or interesting, and definitely remember to subscribe to my channel. Till I come your way again next time. Ciao.